Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geostrategic Podcast. Thank you for watching or listening to the podcast. What if I told you NATO has just activated a brand new military force near Russia's border? And this could be one of the most important security developments in Northern Europe since the Cold War. A new NATO formation is now operating in Finland, bringing together Swedish troops, multinational forces, and specialized Arctic warfare capabilities just miles from Russia. But why now? What is NATO preparing for, and how could this reshape the balance of power in the Arctic and beyond?
Yeah, that's the big question.
In this video, we'll break down what NATO's new deployment really means, who's involved, and why military analysts around the world are paying close attention.
Right.
Before we begin, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone interested in geopolitics and global security. And here's the question for you. Is NATO strengthening regional stability or increasing tensions with Russia? There are strong arguments on both sides, and I want to hear your perspective. Drop your opinion in the comments below and join the discussion. I read as many comments as possible, and some of the best insights come directly from viewers like you.
They really do.
Now let's dive in.
I mean, this really is a fascinating shift in the security architecture up there. We're looking at a totally new operational reality, especially for a region that was known for strict military non-alignment for so long.
Yeah, seeing it go from paper agreements to actual boots on the ground is just, well, it's monumental. Okay, let's unpack this because the structure of this new force is highly specific and, quite honestly, a bit unusual.
It is, yeah.
It's officially called Forward Land Forces Finland, or FLF Finland, and it officially begins operations this Saturday. But looking at the last info, the architecture is what caught my eye, the two-hub system.
Right, so it's not just centralized in one massive base.
Yeah. Exactly. You've got this multinational command element stationed up in Rovaniemi in northern Finland. But the actual muscle, a battalion-sized Swedish battle group of about 600 soldiers, they aren't even in Finland.
You know they aren't.
They're based across the border in Boden, northern Sweden. Why split them up like that?
Well, it all comes down to geostrategic geography. I mean, Rovaniemi is right there in Finnish Lapland. It's the administrative capital. It has robust infrastructure, and crucially, it has an airbase.
Oh, right.
So that makes it the perfect place for the brain of the operation. The commanders sit there, they look at the radar, communicate with Finnish domestic forces, and basically analyze the border in real time. But the muscle, like you called it, sits back in Boden.
And Boden is what, like a couple hours drive from the border?
Roughly, yeah. And that distance is a feature, it's not a bug. If you place your main fighting force directly on the border...
They're totally exposed.
Exactly. They are immediately vulnerable to preemptive artillery strikes, electronic warfare jamming, or sudden incursions. So by keeping the main Swedish battle group back in Boden, you protect those primary defensive assets behind natural geographical barriers, like rivers and dense forests.
I see. So the way I visualize this, it's kind of like a rapid response fire department.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily want the firefighters living inside the highly flammable building they're trying to protect, right?
That's a great way to put it.
Because if the building catches fire, well, your fire trucks burn down with it. Instead, they're based safely in the next town over. They're equipped, fueled, and ready to deploy instantly the moment the alarm sounds.
That is a perfect analogy. In military terms, you know, what you're describing is called strategic depth. NATO is essentially creating a layered defense. But there's another massive piece to this puzzle.
Oh.
Yeah. Both of these hubs, the brain in Rovaniemi and the muscle in Boden, once they're activated, they fall directly under the authority of NATO's Supreme Allied Commander, Europe.
Wait, that's General Alexis G. Grinkuch, right?
Exactly. And we really need to emphasize how big of a deal that is. Historically, if Sweden wanted to send troops to help Finland, it would require bilateral political debates, parliamentary approvals in Stockholm, just a whole lot of red tape.
Right, which takes time.
Exactly. But by placing this force under the Supreme Allied Commander, Europe, NATO is streamlining that entire process. General Grinkuch has the authority to orchestrate these movements as part of a unified continental defense strategy.
So it completely removes the friction. It's no longer just two Nordic neighbors figuring out how to help each other out. It's the entire NATO alliance moving a chess piece on a continental board.
Precisely. It integrates this localized Nordic force straight into the highest levels of NATO's command structure.
Which brings up a really important point about the actual board this chess piece is moving on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about why Boden was chosen as that staging ground, because we aren't just talking about crossing a regular border.
No, definitely not.
We're talking about the High North. And the latest updates from Finnish Defense Minister Antti Häkkinen, make it very clear, this force is specifically designed for Arctic conditions.
And that environment dictates absolutely everything about how this force operates. I mean, the high north is an incredibly unforgiving theater. It's not just cold, it's aggressively hostile to human life and machinery.
Right, I think people hear cold weather and they imagine, bad snowstorm. But we are talking about strengthening deterrence in a place where the temperature can drop to -40 degrees.
Yeah, -40 is a whole different world.
What does it actually mean to conduct military operations in that? I imagine just keeping the lights on is a logistical feat.
Oh, it's a logistical nightmare. Just look at the machinery. At -40 degrees, standard diesel fuel literally turns into jelly. It gels up, and engines simply won't start.
Wow.
Yeah, standard synthetic lubricants freeze solid. Metal becomes brittle and snaps. And batteries, which modern militaries rely on for, well, everything from radios to drones, they drain exponentially faster.
So you can't just drive a standard armored vehicle up there and expect it to work.
Not without specialized winterization, heated storage, and constant maintenance. And then there's the terrain itself. The ground is either deep snow, which restricts all heavy movement to narrow roads, or in warmer months, it turns into impassable bogs.
So you need totally different vehicles.
Exactly. You need specialized tracked vehicles, like the Swedish bandvagn, just to move troops a few miles. And that's before we even talk about the soldiers themselves.
Right, the human element.
In the Arctic, if you stop moving and you don't know how to layer your clothing or set up a heated shelter, you will become a casualty of the weather long before you ever see an adversary. Sweat is basically your enemy.
Wait, sweat?
Yeah, if a soldier exerts themselves, sweats, and then stops moving, that sweat freezes inside their gear. It leads to rapid hypothermia and frostbite.
Wow. But let me push back slightly to spark some discussion here. I hear all of this, the frozen fuel, the extreme logistics, and then I look at the numbers. We are talking about a battle group of just 600 Swedish soldiers. If we're talking about massive global security shifts, does a highly specialized but relatively small force of just 600 soldiers actually change the geostrategic calculus up there? It sounds like a drop in the ocean.
I completely get why it looks that way on paper. But what's fascinating here is that in the Arctic, the traditional math of warfare just flips entirely.
How so?
Well, in a standard European theater, like the flat plains of Eastern Europe, raw numbers of tanks and infantry matter immensely. But in a frozen landscape, raw numbers often become a massive liability.
Oh, because you have to keep them all alive.
Exactly. If you send a massive untrained division of 10,000 soldiers into the high north without the right gear, they aren't a fighting force. They're a rescue mission waiting to happen.
That makes a lot of sense.
The logistical tail required to feed, fuel, and heat a massive force in the snow is staggering. Every pound of food has to be moved through narrow, snowy corridors, so a smaller force is actually way more lethal.
Because they're agile.
Without question, a compact battalion of 600 soldiers who actually know how to maneuver on skis, fight in deep snow, and sustain themselves in sub-zero temps, they represent a highly potent deterrent. They can operate off-road and ambush larger convoys.
It's quality and specialization over sheer mass. And this isn't just theory, is it? The latest news shows they've already been testing this.
Yeah, the movement of these exact Swedish forces into Finland was tested during the cold response exercises earlier this year. NATO didn't just announce this force, they stress tested it.
They actually ran the drills.
Exactly. They practiced loading vehicles in Boden, moving across the border, integrating comms with Rovaniemi, all in the freezing cold. It really reflects the massive military integration resulting from Sweden and Finland's recent accession to NATO.
It's incredible to see it in action. And it's really important to note that this 600-soldier battalion is just the initial phase, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Because the latest info indicates the long-term objective is to scale this into a massive brigade-sized structure with regular reinforcement exercises.
Right. And a standard NATO brigade can be anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 troops. So we are talking about a major scaling up of infrastructure over time.
And they're laying the foundation right now. I mean, the establishment ceremony just took place on Saturday in Boden, and Jan Kusela, the permanent secretary of Finland's Ministry of Defense, was there.
Yeah, which signals this is not a temporary drill. It's a permanent new posture.
Right. But here's where it gets really wild. The latest news confirms that it's not just a Nordic effort. The UK, France, Italy, Denmark, and Iceland have all announced plans to participate and help develop FLF Finland.
It's a massive coalition.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Why should you care if an Italian brigade is learning how to cross-country ski in Lapland? To me, seeing countries like Italy and France involved, nations far from the Arctic, it shows how localized borders are becoming shared global security concerns.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it signals a unified, long-term NATO strategy. Committing non-Arctic nations to extreme weather training ensures the alliance doesn't just have fair weather armies.
Right, they're preparing for anything.
Exactly. They are building a multinational force capable of securing the northern flank against any contingencies. You have to remember, the Arctic is opening up. New shipping lanes, untapped natural resources, major powers are investing heavily up there.
So securing that region is vital for the whole alliance.
It really is. By bringing in nations like France and the UK, NATO is sending a very clear message of deterrence to anyone eyeing those future economic routes.
It fundamentally changes the map. We're going to keep a close eye on the news to see how FLF Finland expands from this initial battalion into a full multinational brigade.
Definitely.
Thank you all for listening to or watching this geostrategic deep dive. We really appreciate you joining the conversation and exploring these complex issues with us. Be sure to check out and listen to our other podcasts for more insights into the shifts happening across global security.
Thanks for tuning in. If you found this discussion valuable, please like, share, and subscribe to the Geostrategic Podcast for more in-depth analysis on topics that shape our world. Stay informed, stay ahead, and stay tuned for the next episode. See you in the next one.